Welcome to Stoic Mindset. In today's video, we're talking about something powerful, something every man eventually learns. The hard way. She never forgets the man who went silent. Not the man who argued, not the man who begged, but the one who walked away quietly and never looked back. If you've ever chosen silence over chaos, peace over attention, this message is for you. Let's begin. There's something a woman never forgets. Not the flowers, not the messages, not even the promises you made, but the silence of a man who once gave her everything and then gave her nothing. At first, she doesn't notice it. She thinks you're just busy, maybe distracted. She still checks her phone, expecting your name to appear, but it doesn't. The silence stretches longer than she expected, and that's when it begins. The echo of what used to be your presence, the echo of your voice, your consistency, your care. Silence has a strange power. It speaks louder than words, cuts deeper than arguments, and lingers longer than love. When a man goes silent, the woman who once took his energy for granted suddenly feels the void he left behind. Because a man's silence isn't emptiness, it's gravity. It pulls at her mind. It makes her question her choices, her pride, her ego. You see, she thought your attention would always be there. She believed, no matter how she treated you, you'd still show up. That's what most women believe, until the day you don't. Until the day your good morning text doesn't arrive. Until the night she realizes you stopped watching her stories. Until the silence grows heavy enough to wake her at 2 a.m. At first, she tries to ignore it. She tells herself, he's just acting distant. But silence doesn't act. It reveals who truly valued the connection, and who only fed off attention. And now, she's starving for what she once overlooked. A man who goes silent isn't weak. He's not giving up. He's outgrowing. He's evolving past the noise, past the drama, past the need to explain himself. He's becoming still, focused, grounded, and that stillness becomes his strength. Women don't forget men who argue. They forget men who chase, but the one they never forget is the man who went silent, because his silence speaks to her in a language her soul understands. Regret. She replays the moments, the times you laughed, the times you cared, the times you listened even when she didn't deserve it. She remembers the warmth in your tone, the calm in your presence. But now that tone is gone. Now, your silence is all that remains, and it's haunting. She'll tell herself she's fine. She post, she smile, she pretend the silence doesn't hurt. But deep down, she feels it. She feels that something has changed. The energy is gone. The validation is gone. The mirror that reflected her worth, gone. That's what silence does. It removes the comfort of being desired, and in that absence, she finally meets herself. The truth she avoided while you were busy proving your love. Your silence becomes her mirror, showing her everything she couldn't see when you were still speaking. You didn't punish her, you just detached. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped fighting for someone who didn't fight for you. And that's when she started fighting her own thoughts. Every message she doesn't send, every picture she doesn't post, it's a silent battle within her. And that's the beauty of silence. It doesn't demand, it doesn't chase. It simply shows. It shows who misses who values who, and who can live without who. In that quiet distance, truth grows. She'll remember you not for the words you said, but for the words you didn't say. Not for how much you cared, but for when you stopped. Because when a man goes silent, it creates a story she can't rewrite. A memory that never closes. She'd date again. She'd smile again. But somewhere in the quiet moments, she remembered you. She remembered the man who didn't beg, the man who didn't compete for her attention, the man who walked away with peace instead of pride. That image, calm, strong, unbothered, burns deeper than any argument ever could. You see, silence is not revenge, it's revelation. It reveals the difference between love and attachment, between presence and dependency. It shows you who's truly meant for you, and who was just passing time. The man who learns silence doesn't lose women, he loses noise, he loses chaos, he loses the versions of himself that were built from needing approval, and in return, he gains clarity, he gains power, he gains peace, and peace is what makes a man unforgettable. Because when you reach that level of stillness, when you no longer explain, react, or chase, your energy becomes rare, and rarity always creates remembrance. People forget what's common, they never forget what's gone quiet. So, while she's trying to distract herself from thinking about you, you're somewhere rebuilding yourself. becoming wiser, calmer, stronger. You're learning that your silence is not emptiness, it's evolution. You're learning that not every connection deserves your words. Some only deserve your absence, and that's what you'll never forget. Not you as the man who spoke, but as the man who chose silence over chaos. The man who chose peace over proving a point. The man who chose self-respect over attention, because silence is not something she can argue with. It's something she feels, every day, every night, every time she wonders if you've moved on. And when she realizes your silence isn't an act, that it's your new reality, she finally understands what she lost. Not just your presence, but your peace. Not just your attention, but your essence, because your silence became a boundary she can't cross. You were once the man who explained everything. Now, you explain nothing. You were once the man who needed her to understand. Now, you understand yourself. And that shift, that quiet evolution, is what she'll never move past. She'll hear your silence in every song that reminds her of you. She'll see your calm in every man who tries to replace you but can't, because silence has a way of becoming eternal in memory. It becomes a sound only she can hear, a ghost of peace she can't find elsewhere. That's the secret truth about men who go silent. They don't disappear, they echo. Their absence becomes louder than their presence ever was, and the woman who once didn't listen will now hear that silence everywhere. So stay silent, not out of anger, but out of mastery. Don't respond to disrespect. Don't chase validation. Don't prove your worth through words. Let your peace do the talking. Let your absence create the realization your presence never could. Because when a man goes silent, it's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the final chapter of a story that no longer needs to be explained. And in that ending, she finds her beginning of regret. You become the quiet memory she can't delete, the calm she can't find in anyone else. And one day, when life slows down and the noise fades, she'll think of you, not with anger, not with pride, but with a quiet ache, because she knows you were the man who could have stayed, but didn't, the man who could have argued, but didn't, the man who could have begged, but chose silence instead. That kind of man doesn't need revenge. He already won through peace, through restraint, through silence. So if you're that man now, stay there. Stay in that quiet strength, because while others seek attention, you hold presence. While others make noise, you build peace, and that peace will echo louder than anything you could ever say. That's what you'll never forget. Not your messages, not your calls, but your silence. The silence that made her realize what you truly were. A man of peace, a man of power, a man she'll never forget. Asterisk. Thank you for watching Stoic Mindset. If this message spoke to you, give it a like, share it, and subscribe for more. Remember, your silence is your power. Never react, never chase. Stay calm, stay grounded, and let your peace speak louder than your words, because she will never forget the man who went silent.